GameStop's in a major spot, trying to break through a 7-month-long resistance, pressing right up against it as price closes at 24.26 today, peeking through and over that resistance level. Now, there's a little bit of indecision on this candle, so should we expect buyers to push price up, blowing through this resistance level, or are sellers going to step in? Now, getting this analysis started on the weekly time frame, guys, we see a very volatile stock as GameStop's a low cap stock. One of these stocks are very prone to these big moves up and big moves down. As we see these big moves up, we often see these big retracements. Kind of double top in here, getting back in this range. We see a descending wedge-like pattern, big volatile movements, and we descend all the way down, guys, to around that $10.42 level. And that's where we see a huge bounce. So we meet up here. We see that buyers start to get that volume flushing in. We see a nice green wide bar, obviously breaking through that resistance. And we see a nice move up 264.83. We can't hold that level. So we retrace most of that movement. We try to build up that steam a little bit, getting a descending like pattern. And we once again find some ascending support and start to see volume and volatility ramp up a bit, get us to that 36.81, but then we see a drastic sell-off. Taking off the drawers real quick, guys, this is where GameStop had some bad news, as we discussed on the previous videos. We found that support level, and after bouncing off that ascending support, we just see price kind of trend tight here, looking like we are setting up and gearing up for a big move up or down. And with that being such a fast movement down, right, we're talking around a 40-ish% move within 3 weeks. Definitely a lot more upside than downside at this point, especially since we're gearing up, getting tight for a movement up or down. All right, guys, now on the daily chart, we see where we met with that ascending support. So we see a longer term ascending support stemming from that big breakout, right, all the way to that 64 level. So we see price find this ascending support, come back down, bounce off that, and we see how nice and reactive that support is, right? Sellers cannot push us under that level. We see them try to here, push it back up, hit it again, once again, and we stay above that, and that's what leads us to this nice low movement up to around that 34.40 level. Then we find ourselves in a descending like pattern. So we get in this descending wedge, but once again, look at, guys, we meet back up with that ascending support. After kind of chopping around for a bit, right, price is really volatile here. Sellers push it all the way down, right? We try to get movement up. Sellers are in that ultimate control, keeping us to the bottom of this range, but then we see buyers step in with a nice movement up, a gap up, testing that ceiling, but then we get crushed back down. But this is where we meet up with that ascending support. That's where we get a very nice move up, getting a super tight consolidation range. Breakout, getting a tighter and more compact consolidation range, and we see a nice movement up to that $35 level. Then from there, we see a bit of a retracement. Sellers step in after seeing that movement. We get another apex-like range, pretty similar to the one that we see here. But then that bad news flushes in as we meet up with this new ascending support. Kind of just flush that, and we flush that 29.24 level. And then we see a gap down, right? But then, guys, once again, meet up with that ascending support, and the second that we meet up with it, it takes 1 day of testing that support, and we see a movement up. So at this point, we see how strong this ascending support is, and that is showing a lot more room to the upside than downside, given how fast this movement was, right? We can't deny this bad news, which caused this amount of price drop, but what we can notice is a very strong support level, leading us to a bounce right away, only testing it for 1 day. Getting into an ascending profile, we do flush that when we hold higher. So it's a higher low of this formation, as this was a low. This is the higher low. Find another bit of an ascending profile here, but kind of just break out of that. We don't break down, but we kind of stay tight, consolidating. And then we see a very nice leg up, guys. Changing shift in trend. When you see a nice green wide bar here, guys, shows that buyers are shifting the momentum, as we don't really see that here. We see a lot of tight back and forth type of candles. But then sellers step in here, seeing that red bar. But right away, guys, buyers correct, and we get back in ascending profile. And this bar really sticks out as a shift in momentum. And then today, guys, we close at 24.26, just peeking out of that long-term resistance. See a little bit of back and forth as we see a long lower wick, meaning that there is buying pressure, but also a relatively long top wick, showing that there is selling pressure, which makes sense because we are breaking out of a pretty important range. As we see, it was created at the top of this descending like range, right around that level, and we get down, test that after that gap up and continuation. Cannot get that, we get shut down hard, and then that leads us back to that level, tested a few times, and we end up breaking out, leading to that big movement up. So we're right back at testing that resistance. So it makes sense that we do see a little bit of selling pressure, as we saw selling pressure at the top of that range, trying to break through, as well as right here. But then we retest it and we break through that. So it's definitely likely we could see something kind of like this range here, guys, retesting a few times before fully breaking through. But given how nicely we bounced off that ascending support and how strong that support level was, and then holding higher, creating these higher lows, creating still an ascending like formation, and then seeing a very nice strong green wide bar like that, shifting the trend, and then now peaking over this very long-term resistance, definitely wouldn't be out of the question that we get a very huge move up, guys. Getting back in this choppier range of around 25 and 29, where we'd look to break over that 29 as we would be in a good territory, good spot for that $35 retest, as well as this double top retest right around marking that up. Say that $34 level. But yeah, very nice price action as after we found that bounce, we did see a little bit of back and forth, but we do end up getting that movement out. I do like what I'm seeing on the daily, and we are short-term bullish. Looking for a break of this resistance. Might not be tomorrow, could be tomorrow, but definitely not out of the question that we do see a little bit of indecision and then a break. But good price action, guys. Definitely what you want to see after getting shut down hard. A lot of people thought after that bad news we would be headed to the floor of 20 or possibly even 18. So good to see that we did find that ascending support. And it does remain a very strong support level, and we do see a continuation and ascending profile movement up. All right, now on the hourly, we see a better perspective on how we got above that long-term resistance level. We found that first ascending range after bouncing off this nice, very strong support. It only took us really 2 hourly candles to bounce off that ascending support. So we get up, guys, we find this ascending range, kind of ride this ascending support, reach the top of that 24.45, and that's where we get shut down. Kind of see a little bit of a double bottom right here, and we get another ascending profile, but that doesn't really last. We kind of just bleed out of that. We don't get shut down, but we kind of just bleed out and consolidate. See a little bit of a pullback, but creating a higher low right here, guys, and then we see a continuation up, retesting the break of that 24.45, as well as trying to break through that resistance level. Get shut down a little bit. Sellers try to step in here, but then we do see continuation, not getting that pullback. And today we do end up closing over that resistance level. So good stuff here, guys. As if we can use this, say, very long-term resistance as support, that's where you'd really see that breakout. Say, as price opens, we kind of use it as support. Sellers try to step in there, but they cannot. And we see a nice movement up, break through that 24.45. Would be breaking through the ceiling of this movement as we got crushed down. Tapped there once, tapped around there on that movement down. Try to break through it. Now, if we can hold tight up in this range after a big move, kind of see a flag and pole like structure, right? Big movement up. And we kind of chop here, looking for a little bit of support on that past resistance level. That would be a very textbook little play for a continuation up, breakthrough, and breakout. Seeing a possible very big move up to that 25.81 and further on to that choppier consolidation zone. So if anything, the hourly correlates with what we're seeing in our prediction on the daily time chart, that we are short-term bullish, and we do think that we will get the breakout here. If bears step in, would be around now, this being a false breakout, pushing us back within this range, maybe retesting that bottom of 22.49, seeing if that can hold up, and then ultimately bringing us back down to that ascending support, seeing if that can hold up once again after all this time. But I do think that we look better for the bulls here as we got that bounce very quickly on that ascending support, found an ascending range, we're creating higher lows. We've tried to break through once again, but we do hold higher. We don't see a drastic pullback, and now we are trying to use support on that past long-term resistance. So we stand bullish on GameStop. Let me know your price predictions in the comments below. I think we're in a good spot to see a big movement up. If sellers step in, it would be now, as we'd be breaking out a very long-term resistance. But all the signs point to filling this gap here, guys, as we fell very quickly. There's a lot more upside than downside. And the way price has been reacting, right, bouncing off that support, trending in an ascending like range, and now trying to break through that longer term resistance. So definitely like what I'm seeing here, guys. I am bullish on the stock for the short term. Long term still in the question, as we did get very bad news aiding this very big sell-off. So as long as GameStop keeps getting bad news, it's not going to be great for the long-term picture. But from a TA perspective, guys, it really look good in the short term. And if positive news could start flushing in with GameStop, it's going to aid much longer, healthy stock movement up. That's all I got for you guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll continue to cover GameStop as well as other major tickers. That's all for me. Trade smart, and I'll see you all in the next one.